Call to order the Hayes Trinity Groundwater Conservation District meeting, Thursday, September 8th, 2011, at 6 p.m. at Dripping Spring City Hall. First item, roll call, Rick.
Joanne Jernigan.
Here.
Ed Pope.
Here.
Ed Key.
Here.
Rick Nesbitt. Here. Jimmy Skip.
Here. Board meeting protocol, if you want to speak, we have these forms, if you fill them out and give them either to myself or to Rick, let you speak 3 minutes at the public comment time for anything you want to talk about. If it's something on the agenda, I'll let you speak when it's on the agenda item. Consider approval of prior meeting minutes. I've done that. Mark? All right. Approve the monthly financial report and budget to actual report, Mark?
Yes.
General manager report of activities, Rick?
Monitoring run will be take place next week, the 12th and the 13th. Bring your attention to year-to-date collection fees. It's on the screen behind you. We have 4 new public water connections in August for 35 in the year, and 9 new well registrations in August, 60 for the year. As soon as that comes up, you'll see it.
There we go.
So we had 2 in Dripping, water supply, 1 in Skyline, 1 in Wimberley water, 7 domestic, 1 agricultural, and 1 other, which is a shared well out there in Fitzhugh Corner. We have a map that also shows the latest up-to-date locations of the wells. Again, it just repeats what I just said, but it shows all the wells that are going in. We do have some of the addresses of the 9 that I just spoke of if you're interested. I know Mark had asked me what the other one was, and the information is on, Tressie, on that slide, new well registrations. But it's in your packet as well if you want to look over that. Next, I just want to bring attention to the U.S. Drought Monitor for September 6th. Pretty bleak. Looked at Jacob's well, it's CFS is 0.00, just FYI. Some other news of the signs, electronic signs. We've been working with Walgreens in Dripping Springs and the CVS to display some drought signs, electronic, for the community. Also working with the papers to get a press release out showing the same information out to the public. Just a reminder, the board informs staff while any meeting you attend concerning groundwater, including tours, events, or lectures. And the district always wants to encourage the use of rainwater collection systems and promote artificial recharge of the aquifers through such means as proper brush management and reestablishing deep-rooted native grasses.
Acknowledgement, bank reconciliation, and on the invoices. General comments from board and staff, with no discussion or possible action.
I have a couple of items. Number one, I would like to see, increased supporting documentations for the agendas made available to the board and the public before the meetings. I've noticed that we're having more and more, and I think that's a good direction. But I believe, like, for instance, tonight, like item 2, the resolution for joining the co-op, there could have been a one-page description describing what the co-op is and how the groundwater district would benefit from joining that. Another example would be item 5 on the update for the contested renewals. I see that there is something that I got just at the table here from La Ventana. Something like that, and also for the other one, could have been written up and made available again to the board and to the general public on the website. Another one, item item 8. These are just ones I called and talked to Rick about. You know, just looking at that, I had no idea what that's about. He explained it to me briefly, you know, what's changing with his situation. Again, that could have been a one-page document made available to everybody as supporting documents. The county does this and had done it extensively, and making all of that available. It gives our constituents more information. And there were times when there were items on the county agenda that had there not been sufficient detail, I would have gone because it just the item was something of interest to me, but the supporting documentation answered my questions, and so I didn't have to make a trip to San Marcos just to find out what that was about. So I'd really like to encourage the staff and the board to continue providing the staff with supporting documentation. The other comment I wanted to make was many of the long-term forecasts call for continued dry conditions and lack of rain. And I'm just wondering what we might consider going forward in terms of granting permits to non-exempt wells during times of drought. So maybe that could be an item for a future discussion or consideration.
Like a moratorium on new wells?
Yeah, during a drought condition or until the drought eases. It just seems like it's a prudent thing to do to show that, you know, we're serious about managing the water in this groundwater district, and that we're knowledgeable and tied into what some of the long-term projections are for this area. And like I said, there's been several papers and academic publications about the long-term effect for this area, the South and the Southwest in particular. That's it.
Yes, the League of Women Voters is conducting an extensive study on water this year, and I will be emailing all the board members an invitation for this month to a meeting, statewide meeting, a district meeting for the League of Women Voters. And it should be a great meeting.
All right. Anything? So all I have is we're still in a real bad drought. We're going to be that way for as far as the future can see, I believe. Just conserve as much as you can. Jimmy, anything from y'all? Oh, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Could I like to show you something?
Yes, sir.
I'm sure as you know that when a water well is drilled in the state of Texas, the driller has to submit to the state what they call a state well report, or drill report. Copies go to the Texas Water Development Board, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations, and we do a copy of the wells that are drilled in our area. And Tressa uses these state well reports to compare against the registered wells to make sure people who are registered. And it's a real good checklist. She has a list, but there are also lists online from these other agencies. So you can download information from Texas Water Development Board, you can download information from the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations. So what I did was I went through the files, their files, online files at home, and I downloaded 50 wells that have been drilled this year. 50 wells have been drilled this year, and I plotted them on that map. Now that is a Google Earth map. I don't have my pointer. Do you have a pointer? That's all.
Say, now, the 6-digit numbers, is that the well registration
Well
numbers?
registration number.
Okay.
Well, that is the tracking number, well registration number. So all of those, the ones with the numbers on them, I found it. The ones that just have little squares are wells that have been drilled or are going to be drilled, but they haven't submitted the report as yet. The ones with colors on there are wells that I've got some information on, either well logs or samples. These 50 wells all found water. In the last, I think it's 8-9 years in Hays County, not just our district, but in Hays County, according to the list, the 1,850 wells have been drilled. All found water. So water is ubiquitous. Even in the drought, we have water. We may not have as much as we want, but it is there. There's a very sharp line, and again, I don't have my pointer with me, but if you know where Fitzhugh Road is, or the northern part of the district, north of which the Middle Trinity is dry, but the Lower Trinity still produces. It may produce only 5 or 10 gallons per minute, but it still produces enough for an individual well. We have seen no dry holes yet. As a matter of fact, if you can see up there, right in the north, right on the Travis County line, there's a well that's colored in red. It's labeled Jennings. That's Tim Jennings' well. He drilled on Fitzhugh last week. And I was at the well. The fellows invited me to come, take samples, etc. And he went after the same public conglomerate that I've been telling you about that was in Lyle found along Ranch Road 12. Found it. He got 45 to 50 gallons per minute. I mean, a heck of a well. It was right in the middle of the drought.
Right.
And it happens to be a sweet spot, and I couldn't predict where that's going to be. It just happens to be where there's porosity. My only point is, if the landowner, if the well owner gives the aquifer a chance, if it allows it to rest, if it shuts its pump down for overnight or shuts its pump down for a day, that aquifer will produce out of the matrix, not very much. You may get 100 gallons a day, maybe get enough to flush the toilet. But there still is water in it. We're very blessed by having so much water. Of course we have this concern. Of course the drought is about us. But we still have room. We still have reserves. The sky isn't falling yet. And we can, by requesting, and these are all domestic wells. These aren't any non-exempt wells. These are all domestic wells. By requesting that people continue to conserve, and by talking to them about getting a pump tech to shut their well off, or getting a backup tank or something like that, I think we may be able to help some folks milk the aquifer without shutting down and having to drill a deeper well. Mark?
I had a question. A real good friend of mine, his well went dry, he was hauling water, and then it just came back. We've had no rain to speak of in the last, I guess, 2 months probably. Is it coming from the lower, bubbling up into to refill it? Or
There is some dewatering. The Hetzel may be actually dewatering some of the Cow Creek, but normally it is not. And what sometimes happens is you shut your well down, if you shut your well in, with time, it'll start to fill up. You can almost listen. You can hear the drops going in. It's not very fast. It's not very much. Jennings, for example, on his property, someplace on his ranch, he has a Middle Trinity well, and it's making 100 gallons a day. That's not very much, but still, there is some water there. Now, why that particular one increased it, I have no idea. One of the things I do want to point out to you that there's about equal amount of wells, maybe a little more drilled in the north than in the south. But there's a whole parcel of wells drilled in the south, very close to that word Barclay. There's 6 wells that have drilled in there this year. That's all Mustang Ranch. All Mustang Ranch, that's all Middle Trinity production, and that is all in the same drainage area that we've been concerned about. And that's really all I have to say. We are looking at it, and that information is available. The data's not great, but you can use it.
Al, what's the depth on those Mustang wells been?
400 feet, something like that. 450 feet, 350, depends on where they are relative to the fault. There's a series of faults. The Glatley well that you and I were on, remember that one? That got water in the dolomites of the lower part of the Cow Creek. So they're not real deep wells. Up to the north, we're talking 750, 800 feet, 850 feet. You are talking about different depths. Three ranches that I know of for sure who have Middle Trinity production have purposely drilled deep wells into the Lower Trinity to ensure that they have water in cases of drought. And they've been successful. Yes?
At the bottom part of the district, in the Barkley and Mustang Ridge, what's the production, average production of those wells?
Oh, 20, 30 gallons per minute, something like that. Some are worse. There's a series of faults that come through in there. And sometimes some of those are even producing from the lower unit. Mostly they're producing, I would say 20 to 30. But that's about average for us. You go out there on Waverly bypass and you can get 200, 300 gallons per minute. So if you get into a sweet spot where you get some fraction, you've got a good aquifer. Remember, we're talking about the Trinity. The Edwards goes thousands. We're talking 1,000 or 2,000 gallons per minute. Well, we're talking 20 or 30. What's required for a single resident? Probably 5 or 10. 5 or 10, if they can rely on it. We are looking at the quality. We're trying to get samples of the water so we can tell, all right, this is deep water, but what is the quality?
Do we need to get some samples? Do we need to do that, start sampling?
I've asked if we can get samples, and they've agreed from the Jennings well and from the Wilson and Lyle well. I'm trying to focus now on the Lower Trinity. What is the quality of water in the Lower Trinity? Is it terrible? One of the things I can assure you, it's wet. We'll fight some of the other battles as long as we're wet. But yes, and there's a little money in the budget. We've got about $1,000 in there, and we can run some sampling analysis.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else on staff? Yes, sir.
Want everyone to know that the state well reports that Alan's talking about do come to the office, and Trustee does check them against our well registrations, and one came up that didn't apply for a well registration, which is against our rules, and NOVs, flags just flying all over the place. But instead, we worked with the driller, BK's Drilling. We got the check, we got the information, it's all taken care of, but she did come up with an additional $300.
So she is looking, they're not just coming in and going in a file, we're looking at it across, making
Absolutely.
meet up somewhere.
Absolutely. So he's been warned, this is your one-time warning.
All right, that's
Don't
fine.
do it again, so.
All right, we have a couple public comments. First one, Rudy Villarreal. You can step up here, please.
Sure. I'm a resident in a community called Wauwatosa, a customer in Wauwatosa, and they were on your agenda as a 5.
Right.
And I wanted to reserve any comments.
Oh, for that, okay,
So
that's right.
I heard that they had.
Got it.
You may disclose something, but they can disclose something.
I'll put you down for item 5 then.
Great, thank you.
All right, we have another, Roy Ayers. Ron, I'm sorry, Ron.
Thank you. I'm at Goldenwood West Association and Water District, Water Supply Corporation. We are entering into, I guess, the phase 2 or phase 3 of the restrictions, and we're having someone, I'm just a resident there, I'm not a member of the board, but are dealing with and working with our board to try to find out exactly where we are and what we're supposed to do. We get varying differences of opinion as to what is required. We end up with this 30% reduction, and we're like, okay, is that, do I take my annual use or my summer uses or my heavy uses, reduce that by 30%? Does the board reduce the well draw over the year by 30%? Is it a monthly reduction by 30%? Because they're talking about, oh, we need to go, and everyone needs to be reduced to about 4,000 gallons per capita, per resident. So that's like a 70% reduction to some people. Sure, even 30%. Of course, you got other people that are using 5,000 gallons if they're either single or don't have any trees to try to take care of. And I guess where we're trying to go with this, trying to get a baseline of what you guys are looking at or asking for, ladies are looking for as a baseline for us, then I can't get it. At least it sounds like it's not in compliance with the rules and regs that we have that's based upon what your requirements are. So I'm having a problem trying to understand how to deal with that. It also talks about having, reducing it to 1 day of water. Would seem to me that even if you do it on off days, by odd number or even number for different days of the week, it would appear to me that that's a total of about 6 hours that I could water in during that day. 3 hours in the night, 3 hours in the morning. I would think that the smart thing to do would be spread in 6 hours over the week, 1 hour per night that you can water. That way at least you can keep enough moisture in that ground if you cover it with mulch to keep those plants alive. I'm not sure whether our rules are what they're supposed to be or meet with yours, but it's pretty confusing for us. We didn't even get our second one to go into the second phase of compliance with reduction in our water use. So now all of a sudden we're jumping into number 3, and we've got a whole subdivision, about 140 people that are going to wake up with a big shock. So I'm wondering, how do we treat this thing? How do we move into it, try to coordinate that effort? I've written in or sent an email earlier and had asked for a list of the major users within the Trinity. We're in the lower Trinity. And I wanted to try to see what the other communities are doing so that at least we're all trying to work together. It seems like this outfit's still watering the ballparks and the football fields and the soccer fields, and we're out there letting all our grass go dead. And if there's something not functioning here correctly, there's something that it just isn't being put together to make everybody at least try to work together, or at least coordinate our efforts. So I come here tonight to kind of ask the question, where do I go and how do I find out and what are the